Hi, I am Josh. This is Broken Bird Conversations, and this is Zico. How y'all doing? We were talking about some fourth dimensional shit, right?
Yeah. This before we get started, find us everywhere: Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Broken Bird Conversations. And yes, this topic we're gonna get into multiple dimension shit because I recently got sent a video by a buddy of mine, and it was a video about this man. I think I forgot his name. I think it was like Billy Carson or something like that. Don't call me. I apologize if I got your name wrong, but you are a very smart man, and your video was amazing. But in the video, it talked about how there's multiple dimensions, right? So we have our dimension, which is what we know right now, that we're existing in right now, you know? This chair is here, you're there, this mic's here, I'm talking to you guys, you know? But according to this man, he said that there's actually more than one dimension. And what's even crazier is that they're all on top of each other. Meaning, and I think this is what he was saying, meaning that right now, the dimension that we're in, there's another one here too, that we just can't see. And there's a higher one that's also here too. It's all like a layer. Not a layer, but it's here. But we just can't see it, you know? Like the same way that like we can't see some shit like ultraviolet rays or whatever, but some animals can see it because they have the eyes capabilities to see that shit, you know? It's there.
I feel like there might be some humans that can. Like you heard about synesthesia, right? People start seeing other things.
I did. We can get into that, but let me get this across real quick. So he said that there's multiple dimensions right here and that we can't see, right? And he said that sometimes people from the higher dimensions, if they can figure out a way to access the lower ones, then that explains why in our current dimension sometimes we see paranormal shit or apparitions or whatever. And he's saying that those things that we're seeing are actually people from the higher dimensions coming here and taking a peek, you know? But anyway, it was really...
That does make sense, yeah. I hold some water. It holds water, you know?
What do you mean?
You don't hold that? You know, like, you know, a pail holding water, that means it holds truth. Because if it has holes in the story, it'll leak the water out. Is that too old? Is that old expression?
I mean, that makes sense, but what's the connection between...
I'm saying what he's saying, it holds water. It
makes sense.
It makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it holds water.
Okay. So I'm thinking too deep into it.
Yeah.
My bad. Thanks. So that shit happened, and then he said something about how our entire dimension is really just a shadow of a higher dimension.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like how we have a three-dimensional object. Like, do you mind if you have a bottle? Can I see your bottle right there?
Yeah.
So this is a three-dimensional object, right? And you place it down here, and it casts a two-dimensional shadow, right? And this two-dimensional shadow, it's two-dimensional because it's a flat surface, right?
Yeah.
And if you take this circle and you just have it as a line, then that's a one-dimensional line, right? But that's what we know of. But apparently there's even higher dimensions, like fourth dimension shit. And whatever that fourth dimension geometric shape is, the shadow it casts is this three-dimensional object, you know? So it kind of just blows your mind about how...
Well, it's just like... Oh man, like I said, you remember the DMT experience?
I was gonna slowly get into that. Yeah. Let's not jump into it, okay? Because talking about these shit, right?
Yeah.
And apparently... I need to rewatch the video because I'm like a lot of blurriness on the details, but he was talking about how atoms and shit and all this, if you zoom in, about how I totally butchered it, but the whole point...
Well, it's like with quantum mechanics, like, you know, like it's like we don't know enough about it, which we can't. I don't think understand it fully because it's like it's a huge world, but like you break things down, like I know they're saying smaller and smaller. It's like eventually it's like they go disappear and come back. Yeah, and that's like what they were talking about in quantum mechanic stuff.
Yeah, and then this guy was talking about how basically if you break down everything in our dimension, it kind of like shows a code or some shit like that. Like the atoms are just like a code or whatever. Exactly. And he said that it also looks like a pattern kind of, and then he pulled up an image of the pattern. And he called it crystalline patterns or Dinker codes or something like that. And it blew my mind because when I saw that pattern, it looked like a kaleidoscope pattern type thing, right? Like a lot of fractals and shit. Like, hold on a second. This pattern looks exactly like what I saw when I did DMT. You know, because when you do any type of psychedelics, have you done shrooms before?
I have.
So when you do like shrooms or even DMT, right? Once you hit it, Shrooms more so creeps up on you. DMT is like pretty instant, but what creeps up on you is that you start to see like the world as it is, and then it kind of like starts moving, like kind of waviness, and then you start to see that there's like a film over the entire world, right? Like there's like some sort of shit that's there the whole time that we couldn't see. And when I was on it and I saw this film, it also had this pattern that looked exactly like that kaleidoscope pattern the guy was showing. So I'm like, holy shit. When I'm doing these substances, these psychedelic substances, is it letting me access and unlocking a piece of my brain that's finally letting me see this next dimension above us, this whole film and shit, you know? That really blew my mind.
Yeah. No, I had a flash of like of a Rick and Morty episode where they put on the headset and they're like playing this game character, and what if that's our life? We're just like a version with someone's headset, and we're just playing. We're like their character.
That's some simulation.
Yeah, no, it's like that's how it seems though, right? Like this film is like it seems like, what the fuck are we? You know, I always bring up my experience. Like all the stuff they're talking about, all the different dimensions. I'm like, I understand that I'll never understand. Yeah. Because I started having these weird. The world. I don't know what I was in. It just felt like everything was echoey. Like it felt
when you were
distant.
on DMT.
When I was on DMT, it felt like I was just like, and it was like, it just kept going. And I was like, everything would just look so weird. Like you said, that film. It was like everything had a weird movement to it, and it kind of freaked me out. And I was like, and I started understanding things different. I've never been the same since my DMT experience.
Is that good or bad?
Good. Okay. I think it's like I feel like I finally got connected with myself. Like I things started hitting. Like after that, it's like the bamboo shoot. Things just started.
What
like,
is the bamboo shoot? You can't just say shit.
Sorry,
man. People don't know.
I'm all dropping shit. Like the bamboo shoot, where they were saying like a gestation period, where you have all this time where you're just taking all this information, and then you'll have that moment, and then all of a sudden you have a bamboo shoot, and they'll start shooting back up during the gestation period. I feel like DMT was like the catalyst to help all the stuff connect together that I've been waiting for.
So you feel like in your life
it was leading to a moment like that.
You've been picking up on these pieces of information throughout your whole life,
and it never really fully connected.
And nothing made sense, but all kind of like you could see something was there, and then eventually you reached a point in your life where you did DMT, and then now everything finally connected and made sense, and it's like, I get it now.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Things just started connecting, and I'm like, okay, like I'm understanding parts of my trauma.
That's exactly what happened to me too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's like I think it was necessary. It was what I needed, even though I didn't blast off where I think you can go.
Yeah,
I was at a level where I needed to be for me to understand my situation, and then all of a sudden I just been on this journey of just constant click.
Ever since then,
it's still going on.
Yeah, because
who knows how much longer.
You and me have a little bit of a similar upbringing in that we grew up Christian and a lot of religious shit, right? So in my experience of growing up, I've always had this curiosity with like how things are in the world. Why is it this way? Why are we doing this? How does this happen, right? And even with religion and all this, right? But it's so weird that as I grew up, I started not becoming Christian, but I still would always pray. And I still would kind of do have the Christian values in my head. You know?
Ditto.
And then eventually you started learning about other things. Like I started learning about Buddhism and what that's about. And it makes sense too, right? Like I can see things
if it holds water. Sense, I said if it holds water, don't discount it.
And then like just me, my own experiences learning about the universe, space, and how things work, that stuff makes sense too, right?
Yeah.
But and it always felt like all these different separate things kind of overlapped in some way.
There's something.
There's something there, you know. I'm like there's growing up and like it's just like I could see there was like a bigger thing going on, but I couldn't figure it out, right? Not until I got into narcotics. You know, like for example, shrooms.
Ditto.
And shrooms, after I did shrooms, I did DMT, which is a whole nother experience. And that's when things finally started making a lot more sense. I'm like, holy shit, I get it now. It finally helped me put the pieces together between everything. I'm like, okay, all these things, they're not like 100% right, but they're all trying to explain this bigger picture that we just can't comprehend. And
I don't think we can. We're not capable of understanding. It's too much for whatever our brains are to handle. Because if you do, I think it's gonna break you.
Or the way I agree. The way I look at it is, again, we don't have to comprehend it. That's another thing. I don't know why it is about us. We think we have to understand shit. Sometimes
I don't know.
It's like we don't have to understand it. You know.
Yeah.
That's why I think about this. But going back to what you said about if we did, we would explode, right? I agree. That's why I think in this dimension or this current life we're in, we're not going to ever reach that point until we pass on. And maybe we go to the next plane of existence or whatever. And that's when things will finally, we'll be released from this physical body and finally be like free or open. And then we can like take more shit in. That's why I think.
No, I think that makes sense.
You know, because it feels like I haven't experienced this because when I did DMT, I never fully blasted off. And blasting off means, when you do DMT, you have to take 3 very deep hits in order to actually fully enter that place, right? For me, I never really took 3 deep hits. I've only probably took like 1, not even that deep, just 1, just to like kind of enter it slowly, like kind of like tiptoe the line, right? But from what I heard from people that have fully blasted off, they reach this other place. They leave their body behind. They can physically, they can see their body behind them, right? And their like being, their spirit or their mind or soul, whatever you want to call it, is somewhere else entirely, right? And in that place where they're finally free from their body, they can finally comprehend everything. And then once they come back to their physical body, they can't remember everything because this body can't take all that information. But that shows you, said. That's weird. But that shows you though that once you reach that place and you're free, you're finally able to comprehend it. So that's why I think that once we pass away, and if we're like a good person, I don't know how it works, reincarnation, all that. No. But once we do reach that next place, we're gonna understand.
Well, and that's
so we just gotta wait.
I remember reading, and again, I don't know how people know this, but I remember reading these different books when I was on my little spiritual journey. That someone would say, like, in the spiritual world, everything is known. That's why I say sometimes it's to beware when people are trying to speak to the dead because things are known. So they could be. It would know whatever you are asking because it's known. That's why it can be dangerous if you're communicating. And I'm like, how would they know that? Like how, I was like, I don't get where this information came from. Like how is that? I like having, if there's a truth where I can at least it holds, like I said, holds water. I don't know where the information is coming from. So like in the spirit world where they say everything's known, where they know that? Where did you get that information from? Like how did you know that? So it's hard for me to believe that, but I it makes sense. To me, it does make sense. But I'm like, where'd the information come from?
I think you think it too logically.
I do,
you know,
and that's something I think that it's like I know the autism thing because I don't know how to change that. I'm a logical thinker, and it's like that's why sometimes I'll miss jokes and I'll miss sarcasm. I'll miss all that. I'm too logical.
I see.
And I struggle with that, and so that's also helped me get through life because I'll easily just get through things. You know?
I see.
But it also holds me back.
Yeah.
I have to get it explained to me sometimes, but no, it's like I was just like on the spirit world, like all that stuff, that journey. I think it's important, but there's things we can't comprehend. It's too much, and I really feel like that maybe that's what causes people. Like, you ever wonder, like people that can see things, like that have like schizophrenia, are they just tapped into a different plane? You know, are they seeing things that maybe are they just kind of like they're on a wavelength where they're seeing something? We don't know enough. We just start giving people these drugs and pills to help counteract it because, it'll help. But do we really understand enough about it? Like what's causing? I remember there's like a guy that they made a movie about him. He's like a mathematician.
I saw that movie.
Yeah. With Russell Crowe.
I don't know the actor's name, but I remember seeing a movie in math class when I was
that was it. School.
It blew my mind. I'm like, holy shit, this is a thing? Schizophrenia?
Yeah.
I never knew that concept.
Yeah, and he's just, my mom thought I might have it because it can hit you randomly in your 20s and you might end up getting it.
Really?
Like people, it'll just hit them. They'll be like, living fine, and then all of a sudden they just start hearing things, seeing things, and it makes me wonder, are they really hearing things, seeing things, or are they just picking up on another level of something? Like, are they tapped into something? I don't know. We don't know enough about it.
I'd be wondering about that too. Like,
I feel like our brains are capable of a lot of shit that we don't know.
I think about that type of stuff all the time too. Because when I think about the bigger picture, the spiritualness and all this, I'm like, how do these people that have mental problems fit into this? Yeah. Because I genuinely believe that we're all people.
Yeah.
I don't think they're any less than us. So I wonder, what is it about? Are they just stuck in this lifetime of hell until they reincarnate and then they go into a normal person? I don't know what it is, but
I don't know.
I'd be thinking like, what is a mental problem? Is it if you want to think logically, is it just a chemical shit in their brain that's causing this, or is it something more that we don't understand, some sort of spiritual?
And that's what I'm looking at because our society, what happened to me as a kid, they just give you pills. Oh, it's this, give you this, and they would it's like you feel like a guinea pig.
Yeah.
And I was like, I stopped taking pills. I'm like, I got tired of it. It would change who I was. My personality would shift from back and forth. I would gain weight back. It's just that's how we in society would do stuff, which didn't make sense to me. And I was under the belief like there's got to be something more natural a part of this world that helps. And even as a young kid, I had that understanding, and I didn't have a choice till I was finally in high school. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'm not taking this stuff. And then I started exploring that. I really feel like even though I still struggle, I like having control of it versus me depending on a pill to take care of me.
Because you know that's you. If there's something wrong, you know that's because you did something.
Well, I had a fear that what happens if I miss my medication?
Yeah.
And then I lose it.
What would happen?
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And it's a real possibility, and I don't like that. I rather have my own control.
Yeah.
So that way I'm master of myself.
Yeah.
Which is hard. And
yeah.
It's a hard thing to still. I can still lose control of things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like anything. Life. What happens if I lose my whole family? Boom.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah.
am I gonna have control?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
That's what's like. That's why it's good to keep honing, keep exploring, keep learning, because if you start thinking, oh, I'm good, that's when shit in life might creep up. And what if you just start losing your job, car? You might have a breaking point. I don't want to find mine, you know. So I want to keep trying to do stuff. I don't want to be dependent on a pill to help me get by. So I was like, there's got to be something in this world that's natural. That's my belief, and that's why I'm trying to always keep exploring.
You want to get into some conspiracy stuff, man? The reason why why I genuinely think that well, you know how you talked about how you wish there was something natural, right? I do think there is already. Which is shrooms, right?
I do. I
think
agree with
shrooms
that.
is a natural substance that will honestly help a lot of people out mentally.
You're not
solve
not alone
a lot of shit, because people already are using shrooms to treat PTSD and trauma and all that, right? In my opinion, I think for a long time they outlawed it because they knew that would help people out. Instead, they wanted to have pharmaceutical companies make the pills so they can make money.
Some money.
Because big pharma is a thing.
Yeah, because why? Because if you just grow it, anybody can do that. It's free.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's that capitalistic world that we live in.
That's how it is, man.
I mean, I'm thankful that I think it's realistically possible that it'll be legal here.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. So it's already legalized in some places.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm thankful that at least live in a state. It's never gonna happen in Texas. So
man, that's weird, but
that's what I mean. It's like that divide of our nation is crazy.
But I think shrooms will also help people out mentally. But also, I think a reason why it was banned for so long is because when you're on it, it kind of does open your mind
I agree
more possibilities. And I think that, you know, governments or whoever's in control, they don't want people to be free thinkers and have critical thinking or thinking all that. They just want to have people be. This goes back to my education shit. They want people to be dumb, uneducated, and just on autopilot, not thinking about or questioning shit.
Yeah.
But once you're on shrooms, you start questioning shit.
No,
everyone that's done substances, they start questioning shit.
Because
it opens your eyes.
My whole life,
I know.
But that really does. Question differently,
right?
It made question bigger. Right?
Just in my opinion, that's why I genuinely think it's happening.
I will say that the biggest difference, like I felt so much more calm. Like psychedelics, like even if you just microdose, I struggle with anger. Listen, I struggle with anger. I still to this day struggle with anger stuff. It's something I got to work on. I probably truly need therapy, but it's like that's the same thing. I can't afford that. I know, I agree, but I can't afford it. Like it's not in my current budget.
Yeah.
I don't know when that might be, and it's like it's something. It's like it's a lot of energy. You know, you have to have that's a time devotion thing. That means like I gotta like minimize everything else in my life and really devote that time to it. And I don't have that place in my life, and that's unfortunate in a world. I think a lot of people are probably in a situation where we probably truly need it. But
I think
in the meantime,
literally everyone.
Yeah, I think probably agree.
Use it.
I really think so, and I think in the meantime, I have to work on myself, and it's like it's probably I'm doing little stepping stone, like fucking little pebbles, versus truly doing work with therapy. It's like those are taking giant leaps, and I think that's what that would be, but I can't do that right now. So microdosing on like mushrooms, that probably would help a lot. I haven't really experimented that much with it, but that is something.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that is something you've been doing that, right?
I haven't been doing it, but I've done it before because I think I told you before, I bought like a chocolate mushroom bar.
Yeah.
You know, and it has like 10 pieces, and I was just experimenting about how many pieces gets me to what level, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one time I just took like one or two, and I didn't really feel anything. But everything just looked so beautiful. Yeah. And I was just so happy for some reason.
And that's it.
Because me and my girl were like, I was driving her home, and we took it, and it wasn't hitting, right? But it hit on the drive home.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, just driving, I'm like, does everything just look so beautiful to you? And I'm looking at you, I'm like, why do you look so beautiful?
It's like a rainy day, it's just gross weather, but it's like, it's beautiful.
It was sunny. I know. But honestly, like, colors just look so much more better. Like, that green of that tree right there would look a lot more pleasant.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So I think, honestly, if we legalize shrooms into a point where people can start microdosing. Because even when you're microdose, you can still function. You're not like fucked up, slurring your words, you can't drive. It's just everything's just a lot better. So imagine if people that have depression or going through shit, they can just microdose real quick and just have a nice, beautiful day. Yeah. And the thing is,
well, I feel like if you end up doing it for a long time, I feel like it becomes a norm.
That's like what I was just about to say. You don't have to be dependent on it, because honestly, you take that one microdose, and then you have appreciation for life for that day, right? And then the next day, you still have it, even when you're not on it, because you just went through that. I still remember it till this day. I can look back on it and just remember, I'm like, damn, life was so beautiful, and it just kind of, that one moment just gives you a lot of appreciation for life. That I still keep to this day because I remember it.
I do the same with my DMT experience, because like when I start struggling, I think I'm like, wait, I remember the world's different than I think. Don't worry about the shit. It's not that important, you know. When I started getting really freaked out, it's not that important. How important is this motherfucking shit right now? Yeah. If I burnt something, broke something, okay, it's probably replaceable. Fuck it, you know. It's like you don't get all burnt out, you know, agitated and anxiety about shit. It's like it's hard to remember that. It's like, but if you keep putting that in your mindset, but I really feel like microdosing that stuff will help a lot. Anxiety, think about that. You struggle with that, right? Oh, hell yeah. So think of that. It probably helps you quiet yourself. Yeah. I think that's the biggest part. Learn how to quiet your mind, which religion helped me kind of find that for myself. But I feel like there's other ways to help do that with, like, if you're really struggling. Weed can help for sure.
Weed does help, honestly, because my anxiety is really bad. Yeah. It's sometimes harder for me to focus or like function. But when I have and that's why I can't read shit or watch shows because I'm just so anxious, right? But when I smoke, I can open up a manga book and just dive into it and be absorbed into the story, because now I'm chill, I'm relaxed, you know? So that stuff does help me out.
See, what's weird is, like, I struggle with that a little bit, but concerts, man. Like, I'm wearing this Cass Slash. I forgot, like, I went to his concert, but I still struggle. I think about this when I go to music events. I'm uncomfortable as fuck. Really? I'm a musician. It's weird as fuck, but it's like, I think I'm trying to realize why, and like
it blows my mind because you're an extrovert.
I am an extrovert, but I'm not
you think music. You would thrive.
No, not music stuff. I'm shut down. I'm introverted. I'm quiet.
Something happened to you?
I think it's because I learned to use music as an outlet. Okay. And it's usually my anger and sadness that is a well that's there. Okay. And so as soon as I start hearing music, I instantly revert to this. Oh, I'm in creative mode, and when I'm in creative mode, that's usually the well that's tapped into. It's there, and I think I withdraw like a turtle. I turtle out.
So you kind of you suppress some shit in you normally, but then when you're doing music, you're finally able to let it go, right? And then so that's why when you're at that place, you're letting shit go.
And probably, but not maybe. It's like it just shuts me down. It's like I feel like I immediately withdraw. Yeah. And I don't know how to get out of my shell. It's like because it's too vulnerable if I do that. Because music's I only know it to be vulnerable. Because I don't know how to have fun in it.
You told me that you have a lot of shit, you know, trauma and all this. Yeah. Music is an outlet, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe normally through life you're just, you know, happy or normal, whatever, right? Because you're holding all that shit in until you're able to let it out through music, right? Yeah. And maybe when you go to a concert, like you said, you're tapping back into that mindset. And that's like that you letting out shit.
Well, it sucks. I can't enjoy music. I can't even enjoy listening to it. So I'm just sitting there trying to be.
That's
I know.
Crazy.
No, I struggled with that. The only time it's ever happened was at a reggae concert. I was very, very high, like high enough where I wouldn't be able to drive. We had an Uber home, but like that was a plan. So that already helped me relax because I know I'm not driving. I'm not doing anything. I don't have to be responsible. So I think that. Even though I may not feel like I was being anxious, subconsciously I could have been, you know? No, that just letting go of that, knowing I don't have to, that helped. And I was able to truly connect. That was the first time I